Hey there, sparklers. Welcome back to another episode of Ignite Your Spark with me, your host, Kim Duff Selby. I hope you are all enjoying this month as it comes to a close and that you are looking forward to what you perhaps have begun manifesting in January. Today, I have a lovely guest for you, Jeanette Fernandez. Jeanette is a holistic registered nurse, a metaphysical counselor, and an evolutionary astrologer. And those are all just titles, but of course, she is this shining light in human form here to assist us all on our journey. This is interesting to me. She forms part of a mystical lineage called Kun Li, whose purpose is to share ancient universal wisdom for the awakening of consciousness, inner healing, and living with intention to further our evolution. And these are the wonderful podcast guests that are coming to me, that the universe is bringing to me, that I know we are ready now. I know you who are listening are ready now to evolve, to heal, and set the intention to future your evolution, to further it, and to further others. So welcome, Jeanette. I am blessed to have you on this podcast. Thank you.
Thank you, Kim. Thank you so much. It's so lovely being here. Thank you for the beautiful introduction, for inviting me. And I am very certain that with my light, as well as with your light, authentic light, we'll be able to spark our listeners.
Yay! I know. Thank you. Thank you. Before I begin our questioning of you and just like exploration of your heart and what your gifts are, my intent is to ignite sparks within other people. And as we know, sometimes our sparks get dimmed. How do you ignite your spark?
Wow, how did I ignite my spark? First of all, learning to be in the present moment, period. That is so important for us to learn, or I should say to remember, right? Instead of learning, to remember that the present moment is precious and we can do anything we want. We are just creators of life. And I think starting from there is important to really sort of undertake our life. But in terms of my career and what I am doing now is to always be open to expanding yourself. Us as human beings were meant to expand. It's in our nature to expand, to grow, to evolve. And as we continue to grow, things might change. Our perspective in life will change. And that is completely normal. And in fact, that's natural for us. And being able to be open to opportunities, to changes, to transformations is so powerful.
So I guess basically you are open to transformation on a daily basis, as I am. And I think that is something that would help people ignite their sparks, to not be afraid of change, to not stay in the status quo. I'm a big believer in stepping outside of your comfort zone, trying new things, and I know you are too. Let's talk a little bit about your path, how you got to this place where you are really, truly opening the hearts of souls.
Yes.
What started this?
Yeah, I graduated as a registered nurse back in 2012. And I remember very clearly, Kim, when I graduated, I remember, sort of thinking to myself, well, that's it. I am a nurse. This is my professional career, and I will be doing this for the rest of my life. But, you have to keep in mind at what age I graduated as well. I was 23. My mentality was just focused in, okay, that was some hard work there of nursing school, and I'm finishing now, and this is my career for the rest of my life. But little did I know that, again, with time, we change, we grow, we transform. And through my nursing career, it was my patients actually that taught me so much about the true meaning of healing, the importance of opening ourselves to new opportunities, to living our dreams, everything that we really want to create in this life. It was through them that I really learned to do that. And I noticed that the medical field wasn't very much into the holistic world. All of a sudden, after a few years being in hospital work, maybe 7 years or so, the walking into my patient's room with the little cup filled of, pills was just not enough. It was resonating more. You get to know your patients, Kim, and they get to know you. You're there for 12 hours and you go to sleep, you come back another 12 hours. So you build this beautiful relationship with them and they teach you so much. They always say that I taught them, but in reality, they taught me to get out of just one way of thinking, especially about healing. And I wanted to bring healing in a different way, in a way that was resonating more with this holistic approach now.
And when you decided to approach your healing capabilities, let's say, with a holistic manner, which I'm all about, how did you do that? Did you just say, did you have to study more to become a holistic nursing practitioner? Is that a whole different course of study?
That's a really good question. And I'm sure that a lot of people might identify with this as well. And they are wondering as well. Um, First of all, I am a true believer that experience and practice is what really gets you going. Yes, books help, certifications are needed, especially for people to know that you have some form of a base and foundation of that topic or whatever it is that you're learning and practicing. But it all started with, again, my patients and being at their bedside with an open heart and open ears, them talking about their life, about their own healing, and really guiding them towards that healing gave me that experience. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It taught me to be able to do that. So in that sense, I feel, the spiritual counseling, metaphysical counseling really came through listening to my patients' stories and where they were in life. And after that, of course, I went back to school and I did certify myself as a spiritual counselor, metaphysical counselor. We often use it interchangeably, and a holistic nurse. So you do go back and do Board of Registered Nursing. You certify yourself with holistic work, and from there you receive the certification.
I love it. I mean, it's like practical experience is the best teacher. Yes, we need the credential. Got a graduate degree in broadcast journalism 40 some odd years ago. Yeah, that's the practical. But I started a podcast and no one taught me how to do that. I just did it on my own. So we are learning constantly by doing, and that's key. And you actually still are very young, but I love how you were open to change because I know how grueling the nursing career can be in and of itself. So I love that you have taken that natural healer that you have within and expanded it. And I think people might want to know exactly what spiritual counseling is, or soul counseling, as you call it. Can you describe that to us a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first of all, it's going back to, again, the unlearning that we all need because we are filled with all this conditioning and programming that we've accumulated throughout our lives. And we've forgotten that we're spiritual beings, right? We are not just a name or body or symptoms, our wounds or traumas, or even our ancestral traumas that sometimes kind of bind us to certain patterns and an unconscious way of living instead of becoming aware and conscious. And so, in that sense, spiritual counseling really helps to guide the other person to remember who they really are and to get in touch with that higher self, to be able to create a different reality, a different life. In that sense, I don't do that for them. I'm simply, guiding them. They themselves heal, they themselves go through that process. But it's beautiful to have someone that can guide you, that understands it because he or she has gone through that. And that is why I am grateful for my own healing journey as well, because now I'm able to help other people as I continue.
Oh, absolutely. And the marriage of the practical that you had, because of course we need Western medicine. I've said this in many of my podcasts because I have
Yes.
interviewed a lot of alternative healing practitioners because I'm a big believer in the combination of them, certainly. If I never had to take another pill, I'd be delighted or ever see a Western medical doctor, but we need them also. I really feel though that the value comes in marrying the holistic and the soul healing along with the more traditional form of medicine. And when you work with someone as a spiritual counselor, I'm sure so many different experiences you have had come into play. And you are also a Reiki practitioner.
I
Isn't
am,
that
yes.
correct? Yeah.
Hmm.
And I have interviewed quite a few Reiki practitioners because I believe it is such a wonderful add-on to so many people's gifts that they have.
Hmm.
So I imagine when you are working with someone, you bring everything into play.
Yes, I certainly do. And there is, again, this higher power and consciousness that you connect with and that you trust, and you allow this other part of yourself, we often call it ego, to really just stay on the side and allow this natural intuition and flow to come along and to guide us. And really, again, that's what we all have. It's not just that I am special, you're special, we all have it. And I really want our listeners to remember that and to know that we all have our intuition that guides us. But yes, going for to address your question, whenever I am seeing a client, I connect. It's important to have that trust with the person that you choose to go along with you in this journey, and to really understand where it is that the person is from, where it is where he or she would like to create changes in their lives, and really going from there, again, with a lot of compassion, honoring the person's story, the person's life, and moving forward after that.
Well, the key word there is compassion and listening. You are listening to their story so that you can assist them in their growth
Mhm.
and in what's next for them. Because you made a transition. I've made definitely transitions. There are so many different points in our lives where we may want to make a transition, but not know how. And is that what you help people figure out?
Yes, absolutely. Because again, I often find that people get stuck. They get stagnated. That energy that we naturally flows, and it's very easy to point to our external world. Things are not happening for me because of this person, or because of my relationship, or because of my job or my boss. But when you really learn to go within and experience your higher self, and kind of really see that everything in our external world is really a mirror of ourselves, of our inner world. And when you see life in that way, you learn that everything and everyone around you is simply a reflection of you, showing you what it is that you still need to heal, what you need to discover in yourself to be able to move forward in life in a different way.
Yeah, that's so interesting, that idea of everyone else as a mirror to you.
Mhm.
Because
Absolutely.
yeah, I mean, I have read and heard many times that what bothers us about someone else is what bothers us about ourselves.
Yes. It's those things, Kim, that we haven't integrated yet within ourselves. And so it bothers us from seeing it from someone else. Does that make sense? It's something that we yet are to work in ourselves, that we have it in ourselves, but it's either in that shadow aspect of ourselves, meaning we don't want to see it, right? Because it's been in a form of a trauma, of a wound or whatnot. And so it bothers us from someone else. But in reality, it's something that we need to integrate in ourselves to really become more whole, to go back to that integration that we really are. And same thing when you see someone, and I'm sure it's happened to you as well, and to all of us really, is when you admire something or a quality in someone else, then that quality is in you as well.
Oh, yeah. We don't think
Yeah.
of that as much. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Because as human beings, we're always focused more on the negative. I mean, I try not to be. I know you're not. We
Right.
shouldn't be.
Right.
But perhaps we don't give ourselves that pat on the back or that permission to believe that we
Mhm.
actually have that fabulous quality in us as well. I love that. Great reminder. Yeah.
Yes, we all have so many unique gifts, and I can see your gift. I think everyone here can see it, whether they hear us on your wonderful podcast or watches us on YouTube. But what you bring to the world is so beautiful. It's so unique, and we all have that. And that's what I really want our audience to know and to tap into. And if you've forgotten that, then perhaps it's time to remember that, and that there is a way to get back to that path.
Anybody can do that, right? You just have to be willing and open.
Absolutely.
What is there a little trick or a tip that you might give to someone to say who might be saying, I have no idea where to start. How do I do this? How do I move forward? I've done this, this, and this. I don't know. I'm not satisfied. Is there one little trick you can give them?
One that I have many, but one that honestly is a lot of people consider it as very simple, yet we don't do it based in our society, is more silence, incorporating more grounding moments for ourselves, connection with our higher selves. Because oftentimes we get so intertwined with everything happening in our external world. We are so much in our phones. And obviously, if it's something positive, something that is igniting our spark, as honoring the name of your podcast, um, it's important to consider, what else am I watching? What else am I hearing? What else am I allowing to influence my internal world? Because whatever it is that we're spending so much time on, that's what we are creating after all. If we watch and dedicate our time in listening to these uplifting, videos and podcasts, that is completely awesome. But what if it's the opposite? And what if we're just getting ourselves lost in that? Then that's what we're creating as well. So a lot more silence. People can call it meditation, but oftentimes I think meditation has often been, seen as a typical cross-legged person, and you have to be out and up the mountain, and you don't need any of that. You can do it anywhere, and you can just connect with your higher self in that way. More silence. I will assure all of you that if we all do that, I feel that things that happen to me will happen to the rest of us, which is realizing who we really are. And yes, fears might still be there, and worries and whatnot, but the more we connect with ourselves, the more it dissolves, the more fears dissolve, the more worries dissolve, and we realize that we are beyond that.
And if there are people like me who I was not good at that in, my
Mhm.
earlier life, I would suggest just a minute at a time, and sometimes just walking outside or doing
Mhm.
something that takes your mind off of you, whether it's cleaning your house or going on a walk or working
Mhm.
out. Sometimes ideas will come to you then. Now, I do not
Mhm.
know how well, I know because I love to speak, but the idea of the podcast
Mhm.
and the name just came to me. And it did
Uh-huh.
come to me during the pandemic because we all had more time to sit.
Mhm.
Now, some people sat and watched the news constantly.
Mhm.
They were watching the political news, they were watching the COVID news. Well, I refused to do that. So I think that I watched only uplifting, fun, funny things. And,
Mhm.
I tell everybody, I think that's what you should do. Laugh for half an hour a day at
Mhm.
something, because laughter and gratitude are what are going to open you up to the miracles and magic that's going to happen every single day. And it does. I had a sense you were going to say the silence,
Mhm.
because for people like me who tend to just go, 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 it's a challenging thing. But if you start with 1 minute, you're going to make changes. You just are. You just are. So.
Yeah, you are completely. And I like that example you gave, Kim, because it is, after all, our choice. Like you said, during the pandemic, what it is that your choice was, which was to not focus so much on the news and the negative, things that they were mentioning, because it influences you, it impacts you. So you knew, you became aware as to what was happening, but you simply didn't just get lost in that, right? And
Right.
it's our choice, it's our individual choice. And it is when we begin to individually do that, and all of us do that, that we can collectively, expand and keep evolving as humanity as well. So the importance on our choice, that it's our choice what we do with our day, with our lives. And not just because we didn't learn to do that doesn't mean that we can't learn, or again, unlearn, right?
Right. And it is bigger than ourselves. You said something there. Well, but the idea is to evolve the planet, evolve all of people. And we are very egocentric people. I mean, I think about myself way too much. We all do. But
Yeah.
when we send our focus outwards and assist other people and help other people, we're really helping the evolution of the world, not just ourselves. But we end up feeling better and like, well, why do I feel so good now? Because you did something for somebody else. So.
Absolutely. Yes, we are all of service to other people in whatever it is that we do. And that is the authentic light that we all have that we were talking about. It's important to really be able to do whatever you have to do in terms of healing so that you can get to a point that you can really shine your light. And we all need it. We all need your magic. We all need each other's magic. And we're all so authentic. And it's important to really get to that place where that inner self and that inner essence that we are can really be expressed outwardly.
Yeah, we want our inner magic, our inner self to match our outer self. And the two will mesh when you figure out what it is that your purpose is, your passion, which changes. I mean, who
Yes.
knows in 10 years where you're going to be? I mean, I can only see fabulous things, but
Mhm.
it is up to us, those of us who really care, to really spread the word. I think that's why I started this podcast. You know, the fewer, if it's few people or a lot of people, it's got to help. It's got to help. And the work that you're doing, Jeanette, is helping each individual because it's going to trickle out to their family and to their friends when they are awakened and are happier because we want to be
Yes.
happy and love and joy and all that.
Yes. And to know that sometimes one thing will lead you to another thing, and you never know that that will happen. So, for example, I mentioned being within my patient's bedside, the whole spiritual counseling came so naturally, and then the holistic area that I wanted to focus on. And then after I did that, that's when, I said, astrology has been my passion since a very young age. And I love astrology. Why don't I incorporate astrology as part of my spiritual counseling as well? Because after all, they do merge together as well. And it's a tool for self knowledge. So why not do that? And so I incorporated that as well. So you never know what one thing will lead to another. I'm sure it's happened to you as well.
Right. And I did, that's funny because I really wanted to
Mhm.
talk about how astrology, evolutionary astrology fit into your toolkit
Mm.
because it is a little bit more well known than spiritual counseling, or it's been around in the mainstream probably a little bit more. And of course, I'm not talking about those little things you read in the newspaper.
Right. Thank you for saying that. I really appreciate certainly. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
No, here we're talking, birth chart and just, it's an ancient tool for self-knowledge, really.
It is fascinating. So
Mhm.
you incorporate, you do have your offerings are different though. Do people come to you specifically for health issues as well?
They do. Right now, I am focusing, well, in terms of what I am getting the most right now, given our, again, expansion and awakening consciousness, is people wanting to get to know themselves more. So it's more of that mental, emotional, spiritual connection that they feel that they have lost, and that somehow might also be affecting their physical.
Right.
Um, but yes, I have for the most part during these past couple of years, it's the being open to the art of astrology as a tool for self-knowledge, for healing, and spiritual counseling, either together or separately.
Yeah.
Really, everything is connected if you really think about it. But
Well, astrology, the evolutionary astrology can be very in depth. It can be very mathematical and it's so
Mhm.
specific that not everybody gets. I don't really get it because my math brain is not as good as my other side of my brain. But it is fascinating to me how the planets, where they were when you were born, affects your personality. And I've said this on my past podcast with past astrologers, people who utilize astrology in their practices, that I don't know the time of my birth. And I have never known the time of my birth. It's not on my birth certificate. I was adopted and my parents have passed away. So I always go, oh, darn it. I really want to know
Yeah.
because I can't know. And I know I've had other people say to me, oh, well, we just use noon or 12 or whatever. But I think that's interesting. And I'm wondering why. I think about that. It's like, well, am I not supposed to know certain things about me in this lifetime? I
Yeah,
don't,
likely you have, chosen not to know for a reason. And it's
yeah.
the trusting in that. And I have known some people as well that they would really like to, but they don't know their exact time of birth. They've done everything they can. They've gone to the hospitals that they think they were born in, given their history, and they just can't seem to find it. And there is, a part where you must, really think about that. It's like, okay, it clearly is meant to be this way, and move forward in life. There is a reason why your soul chose not to know.
Right. Right. And I get that. It just gets a little, I don't know about frustrating because it's not something I think about on a daily basis.
Right, right.
But when I am, reading something or, I'm wearing my star sweater too. I love the stars. I love the planets.
Oh,
I love that.
lovely.
Yeah. I mean, I love that whole idea that it is written in the stars. It's just so
Yes.
cool. Do you
Well,
find
and if
this?
you think of, oh, go for it.
Well, no, I was just going to say, do you find yourself when you are in counseling with someone, do you utilize their birth charts or that's a specific, totally different thing?
Yes, I use their birth charts. Yes, so the specific date, time, and place of your birth. Oftentimes, I let my cloud to find their birth certificate. That would be the closest in terms of accuracy. And I do. It's all symbolism. If you've seen a birth chart, have you seen a birth chart? I'm wondering.
I've seen charts. I don't have one, as I've said. Um,
Right, right. But you've seen charts. So it's all symbolism, really. And so it's learning the art of astrology, the symbolism, the language of astrology in order to be able to give a reading. And yes, you connect with the person so much when you're in front of them and with their energy, and you trust the symbols. Again, letting ego stay aside there and just trusting what comes in and what comes through is very powerful. And it's really my greatest passion.
I love it. As I said, if someone is born, I think I was thinking how this would be a very cool birth gift to give them the natal chart
Mhm.
of their newborn. But does that influence people? You know how you read something and you say, oh, I'm supposed to be this, so maybe I will be this, in numerology, it's
Right.
like that. But I have only got into numerology or had readings as I was older and had sort of developed my personality. And it was so spot on, though. I mean, it was just so right. Is that something that you think is a good idea or not a good idea to give to like a new parent?
I think it's a really good idea. Also, even a reading, but let's consider, I do evolutionary astrology. There's different types of astrology, but we focus a lot on the power of free will as well, meaning the planets are there to influence us, but that doesn't mean they write our lines per se. We are the ones that are, creating changes and whatnot. We are influenced by the planets, but I mean, let's put an example. The planets might be affecting us now to go out and make changes and try different things and take different opportunities. But ultimately, it's up to us because we can choose to stay, sitting in our couch all day, every day, right?
Right. Right.
So in that sense, it not to the extreme of oh, okay, because my child is a Gemini or because my child is a Taurus, then I'm expecting that they behave that way. And that's where astrology can really not be too helpful, at least in my opinion. When it's helpful is when you recognize the essence of your child. You will naturally see it unfold. It's not that because astrologers tell you a certain thing that that's how you should be. It should just be something that resonates with you already. And it's just very powerful to see how we can incorporate astrology so that parents know that there are going to be different ways of a child, for example, to learn, especially during their first years. And to know that every child is different. And you will see that in the birth chart very clearly.
Yeah, I think that's so interesting. I can't wait to hopefully maybe someday have grandchildren so I can do that.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, so it's kind of learning ahead of time, right? And obviously you can wait until the child is older if you want, but I find that it really helps to know, and it is a precious gift now that you're mentioning that because you kind of can do that ahead of time and then see the baby unfold and come back to the reading maybe even years after and kind of see if there's anything that has resonated. That would be precious.
It would. And it's I like what you said. It's accepting who they are. This person may
Right.
be a visual learner. just,
Mhm.
whatever. This person may have reading issues, or not that that's going to show up. I don't know exactly what shows up in a natal chart, but I think it is a good guide if you take it as a guide and something to come back to and look at, even for yourselves. I imagine every year getting a reading would be very valuable because things change and shift and the planets are changing and shifting. And I think that's what frustrates me, because I can't really get a reading because I don't know what my rising sun is or sign is. And I guess I just have to sort of go with the flow, go with whatever I decide.
Yes, absolutely. And who knows? It maybe been, part of your past, long, long past that maybe for this lifetime you were not meant to,
Oh, I'm sure
but
that,
in a good way.
yeah, that
Yeah.
must
And but
be.
you and
Yeah.
you often see it expressed in the person. For example, I see a lot of fire in you and a lot of air, that importance of communicating, of sharing yourself and what you know. And that path that you have. You mentioned that you did theater, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so a lot of that fire in Leo, I see that in you. So you often see these elements in people. I mean, you have to think back also and know that we are composed of these atoms with these elements, right? And
Right.
it's important to understand that we're all composed of the elements of life, fire, earth, water, and
Sure.
air.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
when we realize that we're composed of that and we express ourselves through that, that's astrology. So sometimes people take astrology as something like woo, way too up there, but we really are composed of that. That's why we say that we are the universe, right? Because we are composed of that.
Yeah. Well, you nailed it. You don't know my birth date. I didn't tell you anything, but I am a
Mhm.
Libra, so that's air.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And the fiery is interesting. So maybe my rising sign is Leo. We'll take
Mhm.
that. I don't know. I don't know. It doesn't matter
Yes,
because I'm not
it
letting
doesn't
that
matter. Yeah.
I'm not letting that influence my life, certainly.
Right.
I'm just living my life. But it is interesting that you picked up on the air, but not surprising. You're right. Communication.
Yeah.
Anyway, well, before we wrap up, is there anything else you wanted to share with the listeners, those wonderful people out there whose sparks are just itching to get ignited? Any other thing you want to share before we give them your information?
Yeah. I just want to share that I really my my true heartfelt desire is really to remind people and inspire people to really be their highest self. And that involves really understanding that we're higher than what we think that we are. And I know that many of us did not learn how to really tap into our soul, but that there are many paths that we can take to really tap into that so that we can go out to the world and really share that light, that magic, that authenticity that we each have because we all need it. And just getting in touch with ourselves is really going to have us experience that.
Yeah, we all have magic inside. And I appreciate you sharing your magic and your light with me and the listeners today. And if anybody would like more information about you, where can they find you?
Yes, they can find me at asoulstouch.com. And I am located in Sonoma. I do in-person readings as well as through Zoom. I do voice record them. That way, again, they can listen to them, later in the future as well.
Oh, nice. I like that. I like that. I will also put that in the show notes, a soul's touch, right? .com. And it's
Correct.
Jeanette Fernandez, and her beautiful shining light
Mhm.
can assist you in opening your light. And if you're curious about what's next for you on an evolutionary soul level, Jeanette might be someone with whom you resonate, or you want to learn more about your astrological chart, evolutionary astrology. As we evolve ourselves, the stars are changing, the planets are aligning. It's all good. We're all ready for that magic light to be sparked, right?
Right. Thank you, Kim. And I congratulate you so much again for your podcast. It's such a wonderful, wonderful path that you've entered. And you're such an example that at any age we can do it.
Yep,
So
that's
thank
my
you.
thing. You're never
Mhm.
too old. Well,
Never.
thank you. Thank you, Jeanette,
Mhm.
for unleashing a little bit more of my spark today. I appreciate that. And you
Thank you,
have
Kim.
just lit me up from inside. So thank
Mhm.
you, Jeanette, for sharing your gift with the world. And I really want everybody to go to your website because you really have it very well explained, I guess, in addition to what you've said today. But it's nice how you break it all down so you can learn more about what all of the wonderful offerings that Jeanette has. So thank
I
you.
do offer also events for those people that are interested in events. I do bachelorettes, birthday parties, baby showers. So beautiful to come together and just, have readings together or privately if that's what people choose.
Yeah, that's such a great idea. And that's how I found Jeanette because one of my lovely young friends had Jeanette at her bachelorette party. So, and she just couldn't say enough great things about you. So,
Such a
yeah.
lovely, lovely experience. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, Jeanette, for your time today.
Thank you.
And listeners, I want you to go out and ignite your spark, find your magic, unleash those hidden powers that you have inside that you know are there to become your most authentic light and shine on.
Yes.